Yeah, I'm actually at
There we go.
yeah. Hey guys, I'm actually at a movie theater, so I'm gonna put you guys on mute, okay? But I didn't want to miss this meeting, so
Thank you. We appreciate
thank
you
you.
being here, Sean. Thank you.
Hi,
Sure, no problem.
Sean.
Hi.
Glad you could make it.
Alrighty, I'm gonna walk right back in. The
Not a
movie's gonna be
problem.
over in about half an hour anyway. Thanks, bye.
Oh, Rory, by the way, Sean is from Brad's Club in Long Island City, Hunters Point.
Oh, okay.
Brad Schilling's teammate there.
Welcome, Sarika. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome, Cherry. Hi, Cherry. Welcome, welcome. And of course, I have to put on a different face for Dennis Dawson. Welcome, Dennis Dawson.
This is all very serious stuff.
I know. Welcome, everyone. We have 1 minute, and then we'll turn it over to our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Derek, Dr. Derek. Hi, Sarika. Welcome. Woo.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
There's Cherry. Did you want to say hi, Cherry? Hi. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good.
Yeah,
Welcome, welcome. And
Good night, good morning, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Intercontinental Advanced Toastmasters Club 07854-893. All of our members, please get to know our numbers because we will be calling this number out from time to time. To our guests, we say welcome and thank you for joining us this evening. We are so appreciative of you taking the time out to be with us on this growth and learning experience. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, just a little insight about Toastmasters itself that we hold true. The vision of Toastmasters is Toastmasters International empowers people to achieve their full potential and realize their dreams. Through our member clubs, people throughout the world can improve their communication and leadership skills and find the courage to change. In addition, our core value, the core value of Toastmasters International are integrity, dedicated to excellent service to the members, and respect for the individual. These are values worthy of a great organization, and we believe we should incorporate them as anchor points in every decision we make. Our core values provide us with a means of not only guiding, but also evaluating our operations, our planning, and our vision for the future. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, you are in for a treat here at Leading Voices tonight for our educational presentation on how to become a DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster. But before we really get into it, just a few housekeeping rules. Please ensure that your mics are muted unless you are called upon to speak. Or maybe you do speak, please ensure that you turn on your cameras. And for those of you who can have your cameras on, we'd love to see your smiling, beautiful faces throughout our proceedings. And I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our Toastmaster of the day. I notice I ended with smiling, beautiful faces. Our Toastmaster of the day has a smile that lights up any room that she enters into. She joined Toastmasters in 2016, and she will be serving as an area director in the upcoming Toastmasters year. Please put your hands together for our Toastmaster of the day, Jamal George.
Thank you, Derek, for the wonderful introduction. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, good morning, good evening, and good night to each and every one of you. You are in for a special session. Our much awaited workshop, How to Become a Distinguished Toastmaster, is tonight. It is my very great pleasure to introduce this evening's speaker, Distinguished Toastmaster, Dennis Dawson. Dennis Dawson is our club mentor. He's also a two-time Distinguished Toastmaster and past district governor. Those were accidental. That's what he says. And what Dennis wanted to do was actually compete in contest. So tonight, Dennis will share his meteoric rise in Toastmasters as one example of a Toastmasters journey. This will be an opportunity for you to reflect on your own progress and hopefully be more mindful of your path through the Toastmasters experience than Dennis has been. Please put our hands together as we welcome our distinguished Toastmaster and the speaker for tonight, Dennis Dawson.
Thank you, everyone. That's right, it's me, two-time Distinguished Toastmaster Dennis Dawson. And you may be asking yourself, how can I be exactly like Dennis Dawson? Don't ask yourself questions like that. That's terrible. No. The question a lot of people ask is, how do you get to be a Distinguished Toastmaster? And I have a surprise answer for you tonight. The basic rule of becoming a Distinguished Toastmaster is don't try to be a Distinguished Toastmaster. Just have fun. Just work the program. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal path through Toastmasters, the journey that I've taken, not necessarily as a guide for you to follow, but something to keep in mind as you find your own path within Toastmasters, because we all have to walk our own path to the Distinguished Toastmaster role. Let me start with how I became a Toastmaster. For those of you who don't know, it was 2003 when the tech bubble burst. I was laid off. Fortunately, my boss threw me a life preserver and pulled me into another company. Once I got there, I just hunkered down in my cubicle. I was afraid to stick my head out. I always wanted to look busy. I wanted to be sure that everyone knew I was working hard so I wouldn't get laid off again. This went on for a couple of years. And then at one point, I heard these people clapping like maniacs about 10 feet away from my cubicle. And they would clap probably every 2 or 3 minutes, it seemed. And they would walk out of this meeting room laughing and putting their arms around each other and generally having a good time. I thought they were nuts, but whatever the project was, I wanted to get on that project. Well, one day in the break room, there was a sign hanging up. It said, Toastmasters meeting, free pizza. Now, my favorite kind of food in the world, of course, is free. So I decided I would go to that meeting. At the meeting, they had table topics, as Toastmasters meetings always do. And they got me up with some sort of softball question. How do you think Toastmasters might help you? And I started to answer. And halfway through, I got a catch in my throat. I realized that I had been coming into work, nose to the grindstone. I looked around the room. I really didn't know any of the people there. I didn't know anyone in the company except for people who came to my cubicle and told me to do things. It was Toastmasters that got me out of the cube, that got me into the community, and got me involved in the company. And my involvement in the company resulted in my having speaking opportunities and training opportunities, traveling around the world, things that I never would have done without Toastmasters. Now, I joined Toastmasters because I wanted that social interaction with my coworkers. That means that I almost immediately achieved exactly what I wanted from Toastmasters. I had achieved my goal, get to know my coworkers and get outside of the cubicle. Why am I still in Toastmasters 14 years later? Well, that's interesting. That's a question I'd like all of you to ask. So, Abhi, if you would do me a favor, I'd like you to break everybody out into groups of 4. And these are the questions I want you to ask as you're all talking to one another. First off, I'd like all of you to do a little table topic, why you joined Toastmasters. And the second question I want you to answer is, have you achieved everything you wanted to achieve when you joined Toastmasters? This is based on your notion of what Toastmasters was. Have you achieved that goal? Can you break them out for me, please, Abhi?
Yes. All rooms are open.
Come back in 10 minutes.
Dennis, how are you doing today?
Dad. Go ahead, Emily.
All right, it's just the 2 of us.
I am here too. I joined you guys.
Go ahead, Abhi. Go ahead, Abhi. Abhi, I just say it. Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
Toastmasters for me is building a family and network. And I first heard about Toastmasters through a friend. And that friend said to me, it's an opportunity for me to improve my speaking. I speak all the time. I speak for a living, but that does not mean that I speak well. That does not mean that my grammar is correct, or I can be imaginative with my storytelling. So for me, this is an opportunity to sharpen those speaking skills. And my speaking is kind of boring. That's my job. I'm very boring. So I see this as an opportunity to shine. Over the next, I've only been here a year, just over a year I've joined Toastmasters. And I think my progress, I am extremely pleased with my progress through this club. I'm managing to achieve things that I wouldn't do locally. So for me, it is an exciting journey. I think that's just 2 of us, isn't it?
No, we also have
Abhijit.
Melanie. Melanie is also there. Melanie?
Melanie, go ahead.
Hi, is my sound working?
Yes, your sound is working.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, a bit late. Yes, so I think the question was why we joined Toastmasters.
And what are you not getting out of? What have you gotten out of it, or what are you trying to get out of it more? Like,
so the reason I joined Toastmasters is I moved to Australia and I needed to get a job. And I thought Toastmasters was a good way of networking with people, local people, and also to improve my speaking skills because Australians speak different from everyone else in the world. And I didn't understand all the things that they said. So it was a good way of getting into that. So what have I gotten out of it? I've finished my DTM and I've competed and I've been a district leader. So I've really appreciated all the different skills that I've been able to develop. But I think the best thing has been able to see other people grow. So when they start their icebreaker and they're all nervous, and then how they grow and do things that they didn't think they were able to do. So that's, I think, the biggest part for me. But I now also feel that I need to grow bigger and take my speaking to another level. So that's what I'm working on now.
Perfect, perfect, Melanie. Hello, Jim. Can you turn on your camera? I think it's Jim, right? Yes.
Oh.
Jim. Jim, there's a question for you. So I'll tell my story. I think for me, joining, oh my goodness, this is on record. So whatever I say goes on record. So I'm not going to say it because I'm recording this. Jim.
Yeah.
The question is, how did you end up joining Toastmasters and what are you getting out of it?
Okay, hold on.
I joined Toastmasters completely accidentally. It was my friend who recommended me to join. I remembered that my first speech was when I was in graduate school. I was elected president. The only way I managed to give a speech by chugging the whole beer. And I never wanted to do public speaking. For 3.5 years, I saw the same poster of Toastmasters in my cafeteria. Never even wanted to go for it. But my friend, she said, if you join Toastmasters, it will change your life. And just because of her, I joined Toastmasters. And the things I'm getting out of it, oh my goodness, I cannot. The list is so big. It just, the one thing I'm learning is the more I give to Toastmasters, the more I get. So it's tremendous. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
Jim, are you ready? Yeah.
Yep. So quite selfish, actually. I was retiring. I just been hit by a car. I had a big cast and, surgery and all that sort of stuff. And it was very close to my retirement. So I thought, well, the best way to move into retirement is to completely change scenery. Don't hang on to the old place and the old colleagues and all that sort of stuff. Have a clean break. And I thought, what better way to have a ready set of friends than to join Toastmasters. I had a friend who's been a DTM for years and years and years, and he'd been bullying me to join since 2005. I knew him. And it was 2015 when I finally retired and decided to join, because I know all about the speeches and all that, because I took a lot of my mentees to join Toastmasters so that they could improve their leadership and speaking abilities. And I was in a job where I was on immediate call out, and I didn't want to book something and then not be able to do it, because things always happen last minute. So the best way to join is after retirement, when I have all the time. So that's why I joined. And what have I got out of it? Well, my club is very special because, well, I'm in it. And I like to create special events where we don't let the speakers just speak on whatever they want. We speak on purpose. So they're assigned, as a professional speaker, you don't get to choose what you want to speak on. So we give them a topic or something around a theme, and they have to write a speech for that purpose. So I really enjoy the challenge of writing on purpose like a professional. And I think it's good training. Back to you.
Very nice, very nice. Anne-Marie, were there any other questions?
It's interesting to know there's a common link between everybody. It's about networking, friendship. development. But one thing I was surprised about was this leadership thing. I didn't know you developed leaders. You know, I was really amazed by the program. Nobody actually went into any detail, but it's a career builder, isn't it?
Yes.
For anyone who's still working. So yes, that's another reason, develop my leadership potential. This DTM thing seems like a very, very long journey.
People are enjoying their conversations, Dennis. You're muted. Oh, Dennis, you're muted.
Hello. Echo, echo, echo. Yeah.
Not everyone is back yet.
Yeah. I know that people are enjoying the conversation, but I did sort of sign up to do a workshop tonight.
Yes,
I think that I ought to do it instead of just letting people talk, as enjoyable as the chat may be.
I closed the breakout rooms. Everyone is coming out.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, Shayani.
Hi, Abby. Good
Hello.
to see you again here.
Yes. All breakout rooms are closing in 17 seconds.
That's good. We have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
I popped around. I made sure that the conversation was flowing, and it was flowing very smoothly from what I saw. I expect nothing less, but then again, you never know what's going to happen. All right, as we roll in, let me ask, did anybody have the realization that they have
Oh, Dennis, we cannot hear you well.
Now, the reason I ask that is a lot of people join Toastmasters and they state their reason is to get over their fear of public speaking. Now,
Dennis, do you want to restart your computer? There is something happening. There is a lot of lag.
Let me try one thing before I do that.
Sure.
All right, let's see if this is any better. Am I moving a little better?
Yeah, better.
Okay, believe it or not, what I did was choose the slower internet. I don't know, for some reason the 5 is lagging, but the 2.4 is doing better. Well, hopefully I sound better. Okay, yes. What I was saying is that a lot of people join Toastmasters and they say, I want to get over a fear of public speaking. But you get over the fear of public speaking by giving an icebreaker. If you get up you give the speech and you don't die, you have then conquered your fear. This is such an insidious problem.
Oh,
Stop you.
Dennis, again, it's choppy. The audio gets getting choppy.
There's another trick you can try and do, Dennis. On the Zoom toolbar, go to the up caret next to your microphone, click on it, select switch to phone audio. It'll give you your participant ID number and another code, and that's what you're going to type in when you connect to audio. And a phone number to call. So write down the phone number to call, your participant ID, and then dial in, and it'll connect your video on the computer to your phone, your audio on your phone.
Okay. While I'm gone, as a group, Abhi, you can lead a Q&A.
Perfect.
And the question is, how did your goals change once you joined Toastmasters? Okay, and have a nice little chat. I'm going to join from a different computer. Let's see if that works.
Thank you so much, Dennis. My first question is for you, Raghu. How did your goals change after you joined Toastmasters? Raghu?
Thank you, Toastmaster Abhijit. I guess I joined May 2019. When I joined, I would say the saying that when you get to taste the flesh once, that the flavor doesn't go up your mouth. So we had a first district conference, developer conference in Bank of America in India for first time. So I was giving a speech of 20 minutes before 200 people there. We were assisted by Toastmasters from different areas here. First time working for Bank of America for 11 years, I came to know that there's a Toastmaster club within the bank. So I joined Toastmaster in May 2019 with that enthusiasm that I will get to learn more techniques to speak to people. Now my goals, certain way has changed towards helping people, and that feeling of fraternity or the feeling of the family. Now I'm at a stage where I feel no difference. Earlier, I used to have that feeling of border. For example, I was Pakistan and India. If you talk, there's always a fight, and there's always an argument in India. But when I visited Toastmaster Club in Pakistan, thrice I went, and I always felt we are all one family. That feeling never went up. Irrespective of how many times I would say that, I always feel it. We are one family. And that has helped me to get to a stage. My goals are changed to help as many people as possible, whether it is mentoring or whether it is sponsoring more clubs or mentoring the clubs to grow more irrespective of whether I get the credit for it or not. Okay.
Thank you, Raghu. That was truly inspirational. Thank you for sharing that. Carol, how has your goals changed? Carol Tasang, it's you. Yeah.
Yes. When I first joined Toastmasters, my main aim was to improve my communication skills, my leadership skills. As we went on in different clubs meetings, I joined dual clubs, I realized that there are many leaders who are so kind, so helpful, so generous. They help everybody, regardless of whether you are from the club or not. And the district was very, very generous and good in helping all other areas. And this year, I was in the term of an area director. And it was my turn to help others. My goal starts to change. I contribute, I give more instead of learning now. I help others. Yes, back to you.
Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you for sharing that. Spurgeon Nelly, are you there? Dennis Dawson is coming out. Jim, how has your goals changed, Jim?
I intended to just sit in the room and enjoy the show. And eventually, suddenly one day, a few minutes to midnight, I applied to be a division director. So I jumped from just a normal member to division director without going through area director. And I thought, because we have a lot of languages in our area. So I didn't do the division director in my own unit. I jumped across to a different division where they had lots of these different languages clubs and a lot of corporate clubs, just to meet new people. So again, the networking aspect. I met all new people. Nobody knew me because I was quite a new member. And yeah, that's how I developed. And I grew a lot by doing that, by jumping out into a different division.
Thank you
Back
for
here.
sharing that, Jim. Even our speaker also, he directly jumped to being a division director.
Yes, yes. Go ahead, steal my thunder. That's part of my presentation, but happy to do it. I hope I sound better now.
Perfect, perfect.
Excellent. Sorry about that. I've been on Zoom all day and did not have any kind of issue like that. That means that my graphics are not coming along, which is perfectly okay. I'm going to have a chat with you anyway. I do want to share my screen briefly. Be sure that we're all familiar with the requirements for becoming a distinguished Toastmaster. Now, what a DTM really means is that you've completed the Toastmasters educational program and you've taken advantage of all of the opportunities that it offers you. So, first of all, you're going to complete 2 paths and pathways. You're going to serve as a club officer for a year. So that could be 2 different officer roles for 6 months each, or a single role for a year, or it could be the role for 6 months and then again sometime in the future for 6 months. Whatever you do in Toastmasters, you will always get credit and it always stays with you throughout your Toastmasters career. You're going to serve a full year as a district officer. That's an area director, division director, and those are prerequisites for actually getting one of the higher elected roles. There are also roles like the district public relations director, finance director. These are roles that will give you credit toward your Distinguished Toastmaster award without having to actually be one of the people that works directly with clubs. So you have some options there. You're going to be a club mentor or a club coach, and we can talk more about what those roles involve. You're also going to need to sponsor a club, or you're going to have to run a speechcraft or youth leadership program. You'll have to complete what's called now the Distinguished Toastmaster Project. And this is a special project that you arrange directly with Toastmasters International. It's something that you do outside of Toastmasters in order to take the Toastmasters things you have learned and use them in the community. All right. Now, with that as a backdrop, I want to talk about my particular path. And as I'm talking about this, I don't want you to think, oh my goodness, Dennis Dawson is so amazing. How did he ever do that? I could never do anything like that. No, it's just the opposite. What I want to do is share with you how mundane my path was, how self-serving it was, so that you understand that you can apply your desires from Toastmasters. You can take the things that you want to work on and turn them into a very successful Toastmasters career. Everybody's radio is tuned to WIIFM, which stands for What's in It for Me. Every step of the Toastmasters journey, you can be thinking in terms of, if I do this, I'll be helping others, yes, but how am I going to be helping myself grow? It's okay to be selfish and think about your own personal interests and your own personal growth, because there's absolutely no reason that you have to sacrifice yourself in order to help the organization. It's like they say, you don't have to set yourself on fire in order to provide warmth to your friends. So what happened with me in Toastmasters? I will tell you that I joined precisely to have some social contact, but I joined a club that had never had a vice president of education. Now, I have had a career in training adults. So I said, Vice President Education, why, that sounds right up my alley. I'll take that role. So 3 weeks into Toastmasters, I became the Vice President of Education for a club. There was a leadership vacuum. I happened to have the skills. I happened to step into it. You don't have to wait to be qualified to be a club officer. You just jump in and do the job. So right off the bat, I started working toward my DTM without knowing it. Once I decided I was going to be the Vice President of Education, I decided I should get educated on what a VP of Education does. I went to the Toastmasters Leadership Institute, and my goodness, what an eye-opening experience that was. I had no idea that a Vice President of Education was supposed to plan the meetings, was supposed to help each person plan out their educational path, was supposed to have a mentoring program. No clue about those things. Seemed a little scary. I went back to my club and started talking about these things, and my club had never heard of any of this. It was an interesting first year. Back in those days, we had the Competent Communication Manual and the Competent Leadership Manual, which was fairly new at the time. I was the first person to ever bring a Competent Leadership Manual into the club. Since I was the Vice President of Education, I knew that I had to be a good role model. I started speaking regularly, and not just at that club. I would visit other clubs and speak there as well. As a result, I earned my Competent Communicator Award 5 months into my Toastmasters journey. I didn't rush to do it. I just enjoyed speaking, took advantage of the opportunities. Well, a Competent Communicator Award, hot diggity dog. The club was so proud of me. Oh, and it's not going to come into focus. I will just tell you, this is a lovely walnut frame. It probably cost $50. And there it is, my Competent Communicator certificate. The club was so proud that someone achieved a Competent Communicator Award, they had to put it in this beautiful frame. Well, that's great, except that 4 months later, I earned my Advanced Leader Bronze. I'm sorry, Advanced Communicator Bronze, and they wondered, are we supposed to give you another frame? What are we supposed to do? And I told them, no, enough with the frames. We are setting the bar way too low for this club. The fact is, everyone should earn their Competent Communicator Award within a year, at most 2 years. 2 years if everybody in the club earns their Competent Communicator Award. Now,
can you translate that into pathways?
I'm just about to translate that into pathways. Thank you, Abhijit. Now, a Competent Communicator Award was 10 speeches. So if you've got 20 people meeting in a club that meets once a week with 2 weeks off for Christmas or whatever holidays, that's roughly 100 speeches available per year. Typical club has 20 members. Each member would get to speak 5 times over the course of a year. That means in 2 years, everyone would have a chance to speak 10 times. Everyone should have an opportunity to earn the Competent Communicator Award. Now, with the Pathways program, 10 speeches is roughly getting through level 3 to level 4 at that point. I would expect all of the people in this group to achieve a complete path once a year. That's taking advantage of every speech opportunity. Now, the question is everybody here in this club going to speak at least twice a month so that they, or once a month really, once a month so that they can complete a path? The answer is no. I know that everybody here is not going to finish a path once a year, but everyone in this club has the opportunity to complete a path once a year. And this is the thing to keep in mind. What's important about working the Pathways program is that this is what keeps you engaged with the Toastmasters curriculum. You give speeches that are based on certain criteria. You receive evaluations that ensure that you have achieved that criteria or give you advice on how you can do even better. If you're not regularly giving speeches and you're not regularly receiving that kind of evaluation feedback, and you're not basing your speeches on the Pathways program, then I don't know why you're paying money to Toastmasters International. You could go down to the local coffee shop and have chats with anybody who happens to walk in, and it doesn't cost you any more than the cup of coffee. In fact, Toastmasters doesn't cost you any more than a cup of coffee per week. But with this educational program, if you work it, you will gain the skills that you came to learn. So having gone to TLI, one of the things I witnessed was Mr. Brendan Murphy. I believe he's spoken to this club. Some of you may know him. I was blown away, absolutely inspired by Brendan and his training that he delivered that day. And that's when I recognized what a distinguished Toastmaster is. It's not a pin and it's not a plaque. It's somebody who knows the Toastmasters program and exemplifies the Toastmasters program. So seeing him, I decided that a Toastmaster is something that I want to be, and a distinguished Toastmaster is something worth striving for. So let me ask people in the group here, can you think of anyone who has inspired you to reach for a higher goal, to reach outside your comfort zone within the Toastmasters organization? Denise?
Did you want me to unmute?
Yes.
Yes, and actually that individual is now Region 6's international director. She was the one who helped our club charter, helped the club form and charter, and in increments, she encouraged me all along the way because she saw in me probably something I wasn't even looking for, which I had no interest in moving forward in the leadership track of Toastmasters. I love to speak. Speeches were my thing, and I went to other clubs and spoke. So I went through speeches very quickly. But Melissa was the one who I would say really encouraged me to keep going.
Told you, Jamal, you wanted to talk about someone who's inspired you to get outside your comfort zone.
Yes. So I joined in 2016 Toastmasters in Saratoga Toastmasters. And there, when I joined, my mission was to complete competent communication. In 18 months, I completed, gave all the speeches. What inspired me were the people in that club, senior most people, the encouragement I got. And then I came back this year, and this year who inspired me is Abhijit Joshi. I just saw an exemplary Toastmaster in him, and he saw that I could do more. And he shared with me all the things that you can accomplish outside your club. Be a leader, and because Toastmasters is not just about communication, it also is how to be an effective leader. So it's a combination of leadership as well as communication, and that growth will happen if you challenge yourself. So definitely he did nudge me and push me beyond my comfort zone. So I definitely am inspired by Abhijit every single day.
Thank you, Jamal, because you saved us some time here. I was just going to keep calling on people until they said Abhijit was their inspiration, because he continues to inspire me. As he came into the year, he looked to me as sort of a mentor, and then he became the leader that I someday hope to be. And this is what we're always looking for, is the ability to lift each other up through this organization. Well, once I got comfortable with what a vice president of education does, I decided that it would be fun to be in a contest. I was trying to figure out where the area contest was, sent email, tried to get the area director on the phone, didn't get a response. So I contacted the division director, and the division director told me where the contest was. I showed up, and the area director said, "Oh, we have somebody from Documentum. Oh, that's great. Yeah, you can be in the contest." So I was in the contest. I took second place, and then I sidled over to the division director. I said, "How does somebody get to be one of these area director people?" And the process is pretty much, you say, "I want to be an area director," and they make you an area director. Now, did I have any special qualifications to be an area director? No, nothing at all. But I didn't want other people to have to go through the same rigmarole that I had just gone through the next time there was a contest. And that's my impetus for volunteering. Now, when you're an area director, you're no longer eligible to compete in Toastmasters contests. That was kind of a tough sell because I wanted to be in contests. That's the thing that I wanted to do most. Well, I talked to international director Tevis Thompson, and he made a really good point. If you give a great speech in a contest, you have just entertained 300 people for 7 minutes. But if you're an area director, you give speeches week after week, and you never know who you're going to inspire. And I can tell you stories about people. One particular Toastmaster, he was thinking of quitting. He said that I go to the meetings, they're just so dull and people have such a grumpy attitude. It doesn't make me want to show up to the meeting. And I said to him a platitude, something that people had said to me. I said, "If it ain't fun, it ain't Toastmasters." And he said, "You know what? That's right." He went back to his club. He said, "Hey, everybody, if it ain't fun, it ain't Toastmasters. We're going to have fun." And they started doing things that were fun instead of doing the same dull, boring things that the leaders in the club had been doing for a long time. All of a sudden, the club picked up its energy, started to add members, and this fellow went on to become one of the district trio, the club growth director. Just because I said a platitude at the right moment. And that's the kind of thing that can happen when you become an area director. How do you learn to be an area director? It's very simple. You go visit a club and watch what happens. At the end, they'll say, "Do you have any comments?" You say, "Yes, I really enjoyed the meeting." Now you go to the next club and you observe. And if you see something that you learned at the first meeting, you say, "You know what really worked for another club is to give a piece of chocolate to everybody who successfully gives a table topic. You might try that. It might be fun here." Steal all the good ideas from club number 2, then you go to club number 3 and steal all of their good ideas. And by the time you visited 4 clubs, you've got 3 clubs worth of ideas that the other clubs have never heard of. And that's how you become an area director. There is nothing in the world that prepares you to be an area director, a district officer. You learn by doing. And Toastmasters, as you know, is the place to fail. Now, sadly, I didn't get to be an area director until just this past year. When I went to the conference, it turned out there was no division director. And as Abhijit already spoiled, I don't know how to be a division director either. So I said, "Oh, okay, I can do that." And I went directly from nobody to division director. Well, that gave me the opportunity to work with 20 clubs. Now, many of you here belong to 2 clubs, at least. I belong to, well, as many as 5 this year, but right now I belong to 4 clubs, and I really enjoy the experience. if you enjoy meeting with one Toastmasters club, imagine being welcomed into 20 and showing up and getting to have all the Toastmasters fun. You learn not just about how to run a meeting effectively, you learn about people. And something you find out really quickly is the faces change, but the personalities don't. And you learn how to deal with people on their level and resolve conflict, to be able to encourage people, to pump people up, to deflate their egos when it's necessary. You learn how to work with people in an effective way. And these are skills that transfer into the real world. Now, this is the reason that not everyone will become a distinguished Toastmaster. In order to be a DTM, you have to spend 1 year as a district officer. There are 3,000 members in the district. There are 50 area director, division director roles, about maybe as many as 60. But you can see there are far more members than there are area directors and division director roles. So not everyone can become a distinguished Toastmaster, but everyone in this room has the opportunity to become a distinguished Toastmaster, because every single year they have trouble filling the area director roles. So if you have it in mind that you want to get everything out of the Toastmasters program that you possibly can, then you should make it known that you are ready, willing, and able to step up to an area director role. A great way to get out there and be considered for these roles is to participate outside of your club. Don't just attend the Toastmasters Leadership Institute, volunteer. You might be a trainer, you might be a room monitor, you might be one of the people who helps with registration. Get involved with the district, and then when it comes time to assign an area director, they say, wait a second, I remember Kieran was really active with us at that last TLI. I think she'd make a great area director. Make yourself known, show that you're here to serve, and you will be able to step into one of these roles. Now, one of the things that you need to do in order to become a distinguished division is to start a new club. There is no greater thrill in Toastmasters than starting clubs. I happen to have an interest in the audio-visual aspects, and this was something that was really just getting started in Toastmasters back in 2010, bringing in multimedia, so slideshows where we actually brought in a projector and a screen in order to do it, bringing in special audio. So we started a club called AV Toasties, where we purposely got together and gave these presentations using multimedia and had guest speakers who would talk about how we could more effectively use the audiovisual things. What I liked about that is that instead of a community based around a particular area, it was a community based on shared interests, and people drove as far as 100 miles to attend that meeting once a month. That was great. Since we're now in this distributed world of Zoom, we can now have clubs that are centered around themes rather than having to be centered around the McDonald's in your town. And this is a great opportunity still to start new clubs like the Intercontinental Toastmasters Club, where you can get together with people from around the world. You could have a club about knitting, because you're not going to find 20 people in 5 blocks who all want to get together and talk about knitting. But if you've got 7 billion people to choose from in the entire world, you could start a Toastmasters club all wound up around knitting or any other interest that you particularly have. I spend a good deal of time drawing with children. I volunteer at 4 local elementary schools. It was a lot easier this year on Zoom, but in the past I've traveled between the schools. After I got started with the drawing program, it occurred to me these 5th graders would really benefit from the youth leadership program in Toastmasters. This might be something you could do at your church. It could be something at your local school. It might be something that you do just in your community. but you can run a youth leadership program. Now, this is one of the requirements for your Distinguished Toastmaster award, or you have to start a club. Which one's easier? I guarantee Speechcraft or the youth leadership program is an easier thing to do. Youth leadership is an 8-week course where essentially you take usually teenagers, but I found it worked just fine with 5th graders. You take them really through the Toastmasters program. They give speeches, so everyone does an icebreaker and everyone does at least one more speech before the end of the time. You always have table topics. You practice parliamentary procedure. It's great for the kids and it's great fun. Amazing to see how well these children do, certainly as well as any members coming into Toastmasters as adults. Lots of fun. So much fun for me that I ran youth leadership 6 times, 6 different groups. Is this because I want to be a DTM 6 times? No, it's because when you get in and do a Speechcraft, you do a YLP, it's so much fun you want to do it again. This is why getting a Distinguished Toastmaster award shouldn't be considered a chore. It's not hard work, it's hard fun. And that's what I'm after as I go. One of the things I discovered when I became the division director is that our district website was being neglected at the time. It's hard to believe now when we're all so plugged in, but in 2009, they had let the website go fallow. It was still talking about the district conference from the previous spring as we neared the fall conference that year. And so I had some skills as a webmaster. I stepped up, created the site and said, hey, here's a site, we'll use this. It wasn't beautiful, but it certainly was ugly. And I will tell you that the most important thing about the site was that it always had up-to-date information. Now that would count toward your Distinguished Toastmaster role if you were to become the district public relations chair. So this is one of the things that you can do. Bring your skills from outside of Toastmasters. The idea is to bring those strengths into the group. That's what keeps Toastmasters alive. The skills you learn within Toastmasters we're then supposed to take outside into the community. So anybody got a good example of skills that either you or you have seen someone else bring into Toastmasters and were able to put to good use? Denise always has an example, so go.
My background is executive admin assist or administrative assistant, which used to be secretary. So that skill was put to use when I first became a Toastmaster in the new club that was chartered, a women's only club in Pittsburgh. I was asked to be the secretary. So right off the bat, not only did I get to talk, I got to use all my admin skills too, taking meeting minutes. So I was the club secretary the first year that the club was formed and a brand new Toastmaster.
Ellen also has. Ellen wants to speak. Ellen?
So when I joined Toastmasters, the person who got me to join a chartering club knew of my organizational skills. Since I did some organizing on the political realm and on the labor union realm, I was known there and was able to bring in other members. But since then, it's my skill on Zoom that unfortunately has brought me back into the limelight of the district from which I try to hide.
Yes, yes. As we all know, when we were forced to go online, I thought this is really going to make Toastmasters suffer. I was so wrong. 2 weeks into shelter in place, Toastmasters clubs were the experts in Zoom, and we took those skills out to our corporations and taught them how to have effective meetings online. So this is what Toastmasters can do. You bring your skills in, you churn them through in Toastmasters, you take them out. And it is interesting that people with administrative skills, where they wouldn't be considered a leader out in the corporate world, they come into Toastmasters and they run the show. The progression from secretary to president in clubs is actually extremely common. You think that they're going to go up to 7 roles. No, secretary next to your president. Why? Because the secretary is clued in on everything, knows where all the bodies are buried, and is able to jump in and do a fantastic job. After I'd been a division director for a year, once again, there was a leadership vacuum. No one had been set up to run for the club growth director. I didn't know how to do that either. So I said, oh, I don't know how to do that, and was all set to be the club growth director. But as we approached the conference, it turned out the club quality director was also not going to be able to move forward. And so I immediately ran for club quality director. And you would think that, geez, how can somebody just jump into the #2 role in the district so quickly? It's because they give you a ton of training as you take on these district roles. And Avi, you're looking forward to that. 2 days of training, right? Yeah, so they will make sure that you have all the ammunition you need. And once again, you learn on the job. So don't be afraid to jump into one of these roles. It certainly worked out for me. As the club quality director, I realized that we had a real problem with our Toastmasters Leadership Institute. The way it was being run at the time, people would go to a location, nothing on Zoom, of course. They had to sit in a room for 1 hour listening to someone essentially read PowerPoint to them. And then there would be a 30-minute rah-rah speech from the district leadership, and they would go home. 90 minutes. Some people had to travel an hour or longer to get to this meeting, and it was a real waste of time. So as my high performance leadership project, I decided I was going to transform that. And people were complaining about how long training was when it was 90 minutes, but all those complaints went away when we expanded it to 4 hours, but made sure we had dynamite trainers, that we had compelling information, that we had the opportunity for people to interact with one another, and really turned that around. Now, for that high performance leadership project, it lasted 1.5 years, something that I didn't feel was complete until I'd gotten into the district director role. Now, my message here, when you go for your DTM project, don't try to game the system. Don't try to do the easiest thing you can possibly do. Your DTM project should be significant. It should take time. And ideally, it's something impactful in the community. It is possible to do your DTM project as something within Toastmasters, but what they really want you to do is take it out to your employer. Take this project out to the community, to your church, to the local schools. Use your Toastmaster skills to improve the lives of people outside of Toastmasters. Not only is it a better learning experience for you, it is great public relations out there in the world to show people why they should become Toastmasters as well. In my 3rd year as a Toastmaster, I became the district director. And what's nice about this, I was a division director, I was the club quality director, I was the district director. Well, that's 3 district director roles. I've got 2 Distinguished Toastmaster awards. I can earn a 3rd Distinguished Toastmaster award, and I'll be able to use that district director role that I completed in 2010. Toastmasters does not forget any of the accomplishments that you gain through the organization. They stick with you, and you can always go up on the Toastmasters website and look up your former roles and your education program. So there is no reason that you shouldn't go ahead and get things done. Do a youth leadership program very early in your Toastmasters career, because when the time is right and you're ready to use that toward your Distinguished Toastmaster Award, you'll already have that in the bank and ready to go. Now, once you're a district director, you are always a district director at that point. You are a past district director. And what's nice about that is, as long as you remain active in Toastmasters, you will continue to receive the respect of your coworkers, as long as you act in a respectful way. You will be given the opportunity to serve others as a servant leader, and that never actually goes away. But Toastmasters has a group memory of exactly 2 years. If for any reason you drop out of sight and you're not active for 2 years, you have to start all over again, because we have such a turnover in membership that most people will stay in Toastmasters for 1.5 to 2 years before they move on. Those of us in the know, again, I've been in for 14 years. If you get out of Toastmasters all you can get out of Toastmasters, you never get out of Toastmasters. But if you want to remain relevant after you've completed these roles, you have to show up every single time. As I say, the DTM isn't a plaque or a pin. A Distinguished Toastmaster role is something you live. You have to behave in a distinguished fashion. You have to give well-prepared speeches from Pathways lessons. You have to give insightful evaluations. You have to step up and serve when called upon to do so, even if that's your sergeant at arms at your local club. If you behave like a Distinguished Toastmaster, everyone will know that you're a Distinguished Toastmaster before they hear your title. And this is what I want every one of you to take away from this. Don't think of it as, I'm going to do all of these things and then I will become a Distinguished Toastmaster. That's not how it works. What you do is distinguish yourself as a Toastmaster by getting involved with the district, by earning your Pathways credits, by participating as a Toastmaster. And after you've had all of this fun and gained all of this knowledge and be able to share your experience with all the other Toastmasters, then you receive the recognition. And as long as you continue to behave like a Distinguished Toastmaster, you will continue to gain the benefits of the Toastmasters organization. So at this point, I'd like to do one more breakout, if we can, Abhi, for 5 minutes.
Yes, perfect.
Give everybody a chance to talk about what they're going to do in the next 6 months to prepare for being a Distinguished Toastmaster. Oh, I'm not a not a
Yes.
co-host.
Oh, I will make you a co-host. Done.
The meeting ends at 8:45, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry that we had the trouble, but
No worries, no worries. It happens. It's okay.
what do you think? Do you think this went over well?
Yes, yes, yes. There's questions started coming actually.
Oh, I should look.
Yeah, yeah. I will. I didn't want to stop you, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I do have to make it clear about the HPL.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Good. So I'll make those clarifications.
Yes.
How
are you feeling, Dennis?
Good, good. I
good.
Spent a good amount of time going over this. I had all of my slides in effect in my Zoom backgrounds, but they're on that computer, so I couldn't couldn't flip
No
it over.
worries, it happens. Yes. I think the last message you said, Like we have to be distinguished. We can be distinguished every day by preparing. That was gold.
That
is
that
gold.
is the message of this is you
Yes.
distinguish yourself and then you get recognized. You don't get recognized and then
Yes.
become distinguished.
Yeah. How much time should I give them?
Oh, just 5 minutes so that we can end on time.
Okay, I'll turn at 8:40. I will
Yeah.
close the breakout rooms.
Yeah, too bad they don't all get to talk, but yeah, don't get me started talking about Toastmasters, baby. I have no trouble filling up half an hour.
It just goes quickly, right?
Yeah, now it didn't come off braggy, right?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. No.
Because, well, you know better than anybody. You don't
Yeah.
go asking for all of this. You don't go pursuing it. You just start doing your Toastmasters thing, and if you're having fun with it, you get these opportunities, and you just roll.
It's just, yeah, it just keeps on happening. It's automatic, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I did want to make a real distinction between the HPL and the DTM because that's where a lot of people game the system, and that's what I was talking about, but I didn't make the direct connection. Yeah, the 1%er thing that should change. Should definitely go up.
Okay.
So that's another thing I need to clarify.
Derek, you must be close for your DTM, right? You're muted.
Actually, yeah, I am. Actually, I submitted my paperwork this week. So I'm right there.
That is interesting. You're going to have to speak in just a minute. So I'm going to ask you to talk about your experience. So we'll wait until everybody's back.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had a chance to get your word in edgewise.
Dennis, everyone is here.
Oh, okay. Yes, I appreciate everyone's patience with me this evening. I'm sorry we had to cut the second bit short. A couple of questions showed up in the chat that do need to be addressed. The difference between an HPL and the DTM project. In the legacy system where I earned my 2 DTMs, they had the high performance leadership project. And the problem with it is that some people, like me, would do a big project that took a year and a half. There were people who had, I know a woman started a television show up in Eureka that had to do with all of the first responders in the area. It was an amazing project. Some people, in order to get their DTM, would do a project like hosting an open house for their club, or they would be the contest chair locally. These do require some administrative skills. It does require that you get people to work for you, but it's not the kind of high impact project. It's not the kind of high performance leadership that Toastmasters was looking for. So in the paths now, there is the HPL, the High Performance Leadership Project. And it is now geared toward doing something like having a club open house or a contest. It's a smaller thing. That's why they added the DTM project. And the DTM project, you actually have to coordinate that with Toastmasters World Headquarters, discuss the project with them, and they will help you to craft a project that is worthy of receiving the Distinguished Toastmaster title. So that's one of the things that they have fixed. There's also, I noticed in the chat, people talking about the 1%ers. In the old system, we talked about the competent communicator. It takes 10 speeches to do it. In a typical club, that might take 2 years to achieve your first educational award in Toastmasters. Well, in Pathways, they've done away with that. You get your first level when you've given your 4th speech. And it's much easier to see progress and measure progress in the Pathways program. Also, the traditional legacy program required you to give 40 speeches with evaluations. In the Pathways program, you need to give roughly 25 speeches. So it's fewer speeches. It's much more attainable. And they did this on purpose because, as we said, it used to be that fewer than 10% of people ever achieved their communication award. Fewer than 1%, I mean, way fewer than 1% ever became DTMs. Well, that number should go way up at this point in the new Pathways program. That's one of the reasons I'm so enthusiastic about Pathways. Do we have time for any other questions? No, it's 8:45. So I'm always available. Again, I'm your club mentor. You can ask me questions any old time, and I'll hang around after the meeting is over to chat with you. Thank you for your patience. I will turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster of the evening, Jamal.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you so much, Dennis. This was an interactive session. I really enjoyed it. The takeaways for me is it's not a pin. It's DTM is you live with it. Basically, you behave like a distinguished Toastmaster, step up and serve, and you will continue to gain the benefits of Toastmasters. And that's definitely a takeaway for me. And I am in this time when I rejoin Toastmasters, my goal is to become a distinguished Toastmaster. And yes, so I'm now an area director, and also I am also taking another pathway as well. So I am working towards it, and I find that Pathways program, like you mentioned, you know how Pathways has made things easier, and we want to get more number of people to be a distinguished Toastmaster, and the resources and the mentorship program, as well as the advice and resources trainings that are provided is worth it. And like you mentioned, you know, the skills that you learn here, you know, you bring your skills into Toastmasters and you churn them and then take them out. So that is an excellent thing that you said. So an awesome session. A big round of applause to Dennis Dawson for this wonderful session. And I give this control back to Abhijit.
Thank you so much, Jaimon. Everyone, any questions you have, we will ask Dennis. Go ahead, Anne-Marie.
Dennis, what is the biggest change for you, or what was it when you became DTM? How did your life change?
Well, working toward becoming a DTM, the first thing that changed in Toastmasters, again, I have no fear of public speaking, never have. The first thing I learned was how to stay within my time limits. And I've got other stories about how egregious I was in going over time throughout my speaking career. So that was the best thing I learned. I learned about servant leadership. And as I often say, as the district director, what I would do is get there first and turn on the lights. And then when the conference was over, I would pick up the trash and turn off the lights. That's what a leader is. The leader is the person who eats last. The leader is the one who asks everyone around them, what are your goals? And removes the obstacles that prevent other people from attaining their goals. If you do that, you will always be remembered as a leader who inspired and impressed people. It's not you or the attention on you, but the attention that you put on others that enables you to stand out as a great leader. And these are the things I learned in Toastmasters.
Any other question, Anne-Marie? Kenneth?
Yeah, I was hoping to learn more about the Toastmasters project, specifically how you mentioned that it had to be pre-agreed on before starting with the with Toastmasters. If you've already started a project, can that somehow be shoehorned into such a thing if you have something that you think is relevant?
One of the things about Toastmasters, always remember this organization is not punitive. So if you've got this great project and it's a 6-month project, you're 3 months into it, you say, oh my goodness, this really should be a DTM project. Contact Toastmasters, tell them what you've done so far. And the important thing about the DTM projects and the HBL is that you have an advisory committee, usually comprised of distinguished Toastmasters. So these distinguished Toastmasters ideally are not looking for other people to get the role without earning it. And so they're going to put your feet to the fire. They're going to make sure whatever project you've come up with is worthy of receiving the recognition. And that's why you coordinate with Toastmasters International directly. Now, once again, they're not punitive. They're not going to say, oh, that's a stupid idea, you can't do that. They're going to say, that's a great place to start. However, if you wanted to really gain the most benefit towards your leadership skills, we would change it in these ways. And they'll give you creative ways to come up with an even stronger project.
And what is the direct thing you reach out to if you have such a project? Like who within Toastmasters do you contact?
You know, I actually don't know the immediate answer. If I needed to find out, I would go to the Contact Us site, but I don't have to do that. And the reason is that Derek has just recently submitted his paperwork for his Distinguished Toastmaster Award. So let's first give him a huge round of applause. And Derek, do you know the answer to who did you coordinate your DTM project with?
No, so I did not do it under, my DTM wasn't attained under the pathways. I still finished on the legacy, but you know, up to last year, you still could have, once you had as far as your ACG, you could still fulfill the district roles to attain your DTM. So my DTM is coming under the legacy program. Now my project, I'll tell you what my project was, even though it wasn't coordinated. But I served as a president. When I was incoming president for my home club, Pinnacle Seekers, I recognized that our district did not hold TLIs until mid to late July. So it means we had club officers serving in positions without being properly trained almost a whole month. So I wanted to circumvent that and give my club officers an opportunity to learn their roles going before the year even started. So I set up a club officer training, even though I didn't realize that that's what I was doing, but I just wanted my officers to be trained. And I reached out to persons within our area and within our division who I knew would have been able to give an excellent presentation on Vice President Education all the way down to Sergeant at Arms. So I coordinated that training process. And as I was developing it, I thought it kind of selfish for only my club to have officers trained going into the year. And I opened it up to more clubs and invited them to come along to be a part of it. We end up with about 56 persons trained within that session, and and this is one of the downsides about some of the districts. I did not know that I could have approached the district about this training I was doing, because our district director, our program quality director came to me and said, why didn't you make this a district event? I'm being selfish. I don't want the district to have control of what I'm doing. But then it would have been even more beneficial to me and more recognized if I had known. And so I was happy that I was able to help 56 persons become trained, as opposed to just the 7 within my club. So that's what I used as my DTM project there.
Yes, it's different in this particular club because we already reach beyond borders to have a membership here. It's easier to think of the larger Toastmasters organization in a club like this, but for many people, the 20 people who sit around a conference table once a week is Toastmasters in their imagination, and they just don't realize we have a huge organization with lots of resources to help us. One of the key resources available to you is the Toastmasters website. So Kenneth, what you would do is contact educationprogram@toastmasters.org. Now, it could be that that's not the perfect email address to contact. You contact any of them, they're going to say, oh, you need help with your DTM project? I'm going to turn you over to Bob. Bob is going to talk with you on the phone for half an hour to make sure you've got a strong DTM project. This is the incredible thing when you start working with the world headquarters. If you've never given them a call, find an excuse to call world headquarters or send them an email. It's incredible how much time they will spend with one individual out of 300,000 members in the world. They are happy to talk with you and help you solve your issues. You've got interpersonal issues in your club. If you're looking for growth opportunities, take advantage of these people. They're sitting there waiting by the phone, hoping for people like you to call. Sarika, did you have a question?
Actually, my question is, I totally agree with what you said about customer service at Toastmasters. You give them a call and they're a wealth of information. They help you, they guide you through everything. I really love them. One thing I realized when I called the education department, education@toastmasters.org, that there's a number on it, or you can go to the help desk and they direct you. I don't remember exactly how I got to them, but I believe in Pathways, there's a, they do not open the DTM project unless you have finished the 3rd level or the 4th level of the 2nd path.
Right.
That is a limitation they have.
Yeah, it's the 3rd level of the 2nd path that you have to finish before they open it up to you. Yeah.
That doesn't mean
that you search on the web, right? There's information on there. Just search on DTM project and this information. Just Google it. And if you guys want to open up the chat, I'll send you a link, because I was kind of looking into that myself.
Melanie, did you have a question?
Ellen, the question. Ellen, go ahead.
I want to make sure folks know that once you get to the level 3 of your 2nd path, that you actually have to request it being opened. The DTM.
Right. Now, I got a notification when I reached level 3 that, hey, you're on your way to your DTM. Hoo-hoo. But yes, you do have to contact them to get that project going.
Yes, Jamal, go ahead.
I have a question, Dennis. So I was a Gavel Club counselor for a year. I wanted to know about the youth leadership program and how that is different. Or can I use the Gavel Club counselor thing for that?
Yeah, I'm afraid you can't count the Gavel Club toward the youth leadership program requirement. But of course, you could always run a youth leadership program. That's no problem. But no, the Gavel Club, you know, is not just for underage kids. Gavel clubs are clubs any time that you would not be able to form a regular Toastmasters club. So there are Gavel clubs in prisons. There are Gavel clubs in senior centers, for example, and Gavel clubs for special needs as well, of various kinds. So it's not something specifically geared toward the youth program.
Okay. What about speechcraft? What exactly is a speechcraft? Just out of curiosity, a big picture.
Speechcraft is all you're doing is going out into the community and holding Toastmasters meetings, in effect, with non-Toastmasters. So it's run very much like a Toastmasters meeting. You have your club sponsor Speechcraft. Generally, there are educational materials that go with it. It's ideal to have the club pay for those materials, which is a great way to spend district bucks there. So you go out for 8 weeks, you bring people in and introduce them to the Toastmasters program. At the end of 8 weeks, ideally, they will join your Toastmasters club. But if they don't, they walk away and they tell people in the community, I participated in a Toastmasters Speechcraft. I think Toastmasters is a great program. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a way of bringing people in, but it's also a way of getting good PR into the community.
So at this point, the Speechcraft has an online component. So you can do 4, 6, or 8 sessions, but and then it costs $50 for 5 people. And then all the materials are available online. So you can so Toastmasters International probably has a recording somewhere about that program that you can just search on YouTube for. Okay. But one of my clubs just completed one, just this past June on that. So it's pretty worthwhile to bring Speechcraft to people who are less skilled, and that way you also practice your Toastmaster skills too in running it.
I appreciate that. You're actually more up to date on Speechcraft than I am, because I had started a Speechcraft at my company with the old manuals. Just as we went into COVID, we were in our 3rd week of Speechcraft and we had to stop. And it's just been in the past couple of months that they introduced the online version.
That's correct. Yeah, since January, it's brand new.
Yeah.
Very true, very true. And we also have the district Speechcraft chairs in our meeting. Carol and Margaret are Speechcraft chairs for the District 101. So if you have any questions, please ask them. And Ellen, you had a question, Ellen?
I just had a comment. To answer someone's question of what is youth leadership and what is Speechcraft, if you imagine Speechcraft being 18 years of age and older, and Youthcraft being under 18, basically you're introducing them to the Toastmaster educational system, whether it be online or via manual. Since the pandemic, most of it is available online now, just at different settings. And usually it's your club or your division or your district that will help you get that going.
I have a question about the dynamics between local club and international when it comes to being a DTM and qualifying. Because the local club, there is a lot of competition at a different level. I just want some comment from a DTM on where you actually place your emphasis in getting that award. And is there a conflict between local and international?
When you say
when I say in terms of loyalty, because you are going for a DTM award, but I just want to share, somebody who's in many clubs, is it the local club that you push, or is it the international? Or, I mean, I just want to know the dynamics in terms of where you focus your efforts on your DTM journey.
Yeah, you're talking about for Distinguished Club Program credit. Where would you give the recognition? Really, it depends on your clubs and how they're doing. Again, I belong to 4 clubs. As I earn each award, I look at the DCP rankings of all the clubs, and if I happen to have a level 4, and that's what they need at the Big Basin Toastmasters Club, I ask that Vice President of Education to submit it at that point. Yeah, two thoughts here. First off, of course, you want to distribute it equitably. You want to be sure that you're giving it to a club that can actually use it. So if your club already has 4 level 1s and you've just started a new level 1, you don't want to give it to that club because a 5th level 1 is not going to help them toward their DCP. You want to move it elsewhere. You would also consider if a club really isn't pursuing their DCP program the way that they ought to, then giving them your DTM credit would be 1 point. But if that's not enough to get them to a distinguished level, you might want to give it to a club and make that club president's distinguished instead. So be equitable, be fair, but be thoughtful in where you give these out. But the one thing you don't do is sandbag. When you earn your award, turn it in and get it. And don't say, oh, I'm going to save it for next year so that we can be sure that we get our DCP. No, take your awards, move forward, and encourage everyone else in the club to earn awards so that there's a regular cadence of everyone in the club earning awards at all levels. That's what makes an interesting club, not just because you want to get the DCP points, but you want to see people doing the basic lessons. You want to see people doing the more elaborate lessons. That makes the meetings a lot more fun. And you can't do that if everybody is stuck at level 1 in your club. And you can't do it if you're the one who's always rushing through. So you earn your awards, you take them, and you help everybody else earn their awards as well. Sean, you had a comment?
Yeah, and one thing is when you give your level to a club, right? Make sure you coordinate with each of the clubs that you're in, because I can tell you it will go to the wrong club. And if they accept the award and approve it, then it's going to be a real pain to undo that if it's going to the wrong club. So make sure you coordinate with each of the clubs that you're in to ensure that it goes to the right club that you want to give the award to. And to me, if it comes down to the DTM, I will only give that to my home club, even though some other club would use it, because you want your home club to get it. Whichever you deem as your home club. That's my personal opinion on that specific one. But there's really no competition. Everyone is there to help you achieve that goal, if that's your concern. All right. Okay.
Yeah, and you say that it would be really difficult to get them to change it. As far as I have seen, they will not change it.
Yeah, it's you would have to contact Toastmasters International, and it'll take them a month or 2 to undo something.
Yeah, but Sean, have you actually heard of that actually happening? Because I have not.
Yes.
I had one guy undo it. Yep.
Mm-hmm. We had that situation, Rory. You're still here in a club that we're in together that I'm no longer in, where the president started moving people's awards around. How she managed to do that, I'm not sure.
It's all fixed.
We had to go reach out. He was VPE. He had to go and reach out to TI to get them to fix it. Needless to say, the member whose award was applied to that club was having a living fit, and that's putting it mildly.
Well, when mine get misapplied, I just go out and earn another award.
So I could comment on that. This is Jim Robinson. I had a situation where I completed an award. I wanted it to go to one club. I went into Pathways, signed in as that club, submitted it, then went back out. Then the next morning, I think the next day, I signed in for my other club. And when I did that, it sent the message to my other club. That other club actually then accepted the award and submitted it. We contacted TI. They reversed it and fixed it fairly quickly for me. So it was not really tough. It was a little bit of a hassle, but they did fix it.
Well, when did that happen? Maybe I'm thinking back when this was first going on.
Maybe they were used to hearing from me because I had all kinds of problems with pathways early on, and that was one of the early problems. And they heard a lot from me about fixing things.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good to hear. Great. Well, they're even more responsive than I had said. That's good to know.
Yeah,
Thanks,
because-
Jim.
Yeah, because other club can actually reject the award. Okay, and the good thing was I'm very close to the club president, so I had them reject the award, and it came back, and then it showed up on the other person, the other club's queue, and then it got accepted by the other club.
You managed to catch it before they actually accepted it.
Well,
Because
that's
half
why
the
you got to
times
talk
they
to everyone.
accept it.
Dennis, I had a question. I want to talk about chartering a club. You have experience chartering a club. So I want to know, because one of the points is a club sponsor, just wanted your thoughts on it.
Well, of course, if someone is instrumental in getting the club started, you want that person to get the credit for being a club sponsor. So if you are starting a corporate club, you've got somebody who is very anxious to make that club happen. They're the ones who set up the table and talk to people and get the word out, and they're on Slack all the time, then you definitely want that person to get one of the points. There's a second point, though, available when you start a club. First of all, if you're helping the way you should get credit for sponsoring that club. Okay. Now, there have been a couple of clubs that chartered in District 57 this year. I was, it happens, the club extension chair this year. So I was helping a lot of different clubs get started. Sometimes I was very hands-on. Certainly the club I started at my own company, Autodesk, that was all me, baby. And so I definitely took that point. And I gave the second point to the division director at that point to help him out, and also because he was helping me in other areas. So even though he wasn't directly involved with that, I gave him that second point. If there is someone other than you who is helping get the club started, definitely give that person credit for the second one. But equally important is the club mentor role. And those are two sweet little cherry points that are available. And ideally, you're going to give those to somebody else. The nice thing about the club sponsor credit is that you sponsor the club, bing, boom, you're done with that. Mentoring takes 6 months, but after 6 months, you get credit. Yay. Coaching is different because you have to take a struggling club and bring it up to be a distinguished club. That means that they've got to improve their membership, they've got to earn their educational awards, they have to get their officers trained and do all of the things that make a club healthy. It can be difficult to come in as an outsider and get a club up to speed, because what you really have to do as a club coach is convince them to fix their club. You can't fix the club for them. And if the club is receptive to that, Abhi, you've been successful at coaching clubs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And am I correct in that? You have to make them want it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So club coach is more dicey because it can take up to a year and you don't necessarily get credit at the end of the year if they don't become distinguished. Now you'll get a second year to try and you can keep working with them, but it could still be that you never get credit after 2 years of work for being a club coach. So club mentor is a sweet little treat for certain people. And you want to be sure that the mentor is actually coming in and regularly attending meetings and giving feedback and giving good advice, etc. But since it is a requirement for the Distinguished Toastmaster Award, and it's one of 4 points at a club that are guaranteed, or I should say 2 points that are guaranteed, then it's very important to spend those judiciously.
Ellen has a question.
More of a comment. If you're looking at the different things to get your DTM, think of it this way. A club sponsor begins a club. There's two of them. A club mentor continues what the sponsor did. It's a brand new club. They don't know about Toastmasters and get their footing going for 6 months. Your mentorship is done. A club coach comes in when that club or a club begins to falter and gets 12 or less members and needs to do a rebuild. Speechcraft is something that might help one of those faltering clubs, and a club coach might suggest a speechcraft to the poor club struggling. A youth leadership, and by the way, usually only one person gets credit for speechcraft. Youth leadership, depending on how you set it up and how many classrooms you're going into for youth leadership, it's usually one person getting the credit. But if you have 5 classrooms going, then that's potentially 5 different people getting youth leadership. But remember, youth leadership, with the way things are being run in the United States, you must get the principal's approval and the school district's approval to go into the classroom, and you got to pass a background check.
And locally here, you have to get tested for tuberculosis.
Sarika, go ahead.
So the mentor program, Club Mentor, is it available only to a new club?
Yes, it's a
Okay.
club for the first 6 months. The club is in operation.
Oh,
You can have
okay.
up to 2 mentors for a club.
Okay. I just asked because a club had gone down to 2 members. I coached it back. It's a distinguished club as of yesterday. We had a speechcraft, but the entire team is new. So I was just wondering. Thank you.
Yeah, don't complain about having entirely new people. Toastmasters is made up primarily of new people. So it's challenging to have everyone in the club join, and everyone has to do their icebreaker. So you've got 20 people, you got to get 20 icebreakers scheduled within the first couple of months. But once things get rolling, then people start going at different paces, and you get the variety of speeches that you need.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Going once?
I have one more question.
Going.
Dennis,
ahead,
what's your
Shimon.
next plan now that you have the second DTM?
Well, I've completed a path and I'm at level 4. I need to do the DTM project, and it's something I want to do within my company. It turns out that I'm working on a platform project that is supposed to be something that people can build applications on top of, but each of the pieces of the platform is in a silo. And so I will be working on getting the communication going, not only in terms of people talking to each other about how these should interoperate, but changing the code to enable them to interoperate. And since this is something I need to do on the job, and it's something where I am not the lead on the project, I'm a lowly technical writer, but it's important for me to do my job, that this communication flows smoothly. It's a perfect opportunity to lead from behind. And it fits nicely, I think, with the Toastmasters role. So I'm going to, at the end of this fiscal year, when I'm no longer an area director and I'm not going to be vice president of education for 3 clubs anymore, I will be all set to focus on my own goals, and that's okay.
Martesh, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. First of all, I would like to thank you for your wonderful presentation. And also, I am an aspirant of DTM for future. My question is, you told that you want to serve as a 12 months in a club officer. Actually, currently I'm a club officer at a time in Intercontinental as a SSA, and in another club I am a secretary. Is it okay in 6 months if we have a two post? It's okay, or in different period we want to take 12 months? It counts. How it counts?
Are you saying you've been an officer for 6 months in one club, simultaneously an offer for 6 months in another? Then yes, that would
Yeah.
constitute a year of service as an officer. And you can verify this just by going up and looking at your own record at the Toastmasters International website. Now this,
Thank you.
has this club been, it's been around for 6 months, but it didn't start last June, right?
No, it started in February.
Oh, right. So it could be that you don't get full 6-month credit since the club recently chartered, but I could be wrong about that. It could be you get the full credit since the club chartered midstream. I'd check it on your own roll. I don't know for certain.
Yeah, my only recommendation is don't be in such a rush, right? Finish out your year, and serve your term, okay? Because the club needs you and you grow by doing more, to be a DTM. Don't be in such a rush.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about in terms of having fun and just doing it. I checked my record earlier. I believe I've been 43 officer roles in 14 years. I'm always an officer in some club or another the whole way through. And it's not that I'm excited about being the officer or I jump in, oh, I'm going to come in and take over. Generally, I told BBTM, Big Basin Toastmasters, when I joined that I was joining them because they didn't obviously need my help. Turned out they did need my help. And once again, that meant that I had to step up as the vice president of education, even though that hadn't been my plan. But I did it. I've demonstrated what they should be doing as the VPE. I've trained up the next vice president of education, and she'll be taking over now, working with the model that I was able to set in place. And that's, you don't want to be whatever role you take for the rest of your life. So the moment you start a new officer role, you should be looking for who's going to replace you, giving them tasks to help you out, praising their good work. You take great notes. You'd be a wonderful secretary. And then when it's time, you make the transition. You don't wait until May and say, oh, I guess somebody's got to take my job, and start asking around then because you're not going to find anybody.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Going once? Going twice? Okay, Ellen, go ahead.
Just want to make sure when folks are looking at their DTM and looking at district officer positions, remember that there is a plethora of different kinds of district officer positions you can be. And in the chat, I list for you all of them. The one that I find personally the easiest is the administration manager, by the way.
Right. And when you say plethora, there's a couple of caveats there. If you want to be the club growth director, then you're probably signing up to be the program quality director and the district director. At that point, you don't jump into the number 3 slot with the notion that you're not going to continue all the way through. So if you're anybody like me and you keep getting sucked up in a power vacuum, you could start as area director. For the next 6 years, you will be at one level or another in the district leadership, because one role that's not here, and you do get credit for it, is the immediate past district director there, which has all kinds of responsibilities that you need to carry forward, not just passing on information, but you're in charge of the nominations committee and other things. So it's a 6 or 7 year commitment by the time you finish, and worth every minute of it. I certainly wouldn't trade what I had, even the short time. That's why I went back. I didn't get a chance to be an area director before, so I did it this past year just for the fun of going in and working directly with 4 clubs.
Any other questions, anyone? Going once, twice, and thrice. This meeting is adjourned.